There we go. Oh, sorry guys. Let me spotlight. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Hey buddy, don't mess with Maple. Maple's currently taking a nap, and Jules just came around. I was like, please don't disturb him. He finally settled down. Here we go. Let's hope for the best. Hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone is doing really well. Hope you had a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. Let me make sure my phone. Okay. Awesome sauce. So, hi everyone. Um, let's see some updates. Um, here we go. So, currently, I like to read more than one book at once. And so I wanted to actually share a few that I'm working through and writing notes on and things like that. Because I thought, hey, these might be like might be interesting to other folks. I am listening to the Nature of Oaks audiobook. I have a physical copy of the book, but I cannot find it. So I'm listening to the audio. So if anybody hasn't read or heard the audiobook of The Nature of Oaks by Doug Tallamy, really wonderful book. It's all about the history of oaks, how important they are to the ecosystem here in North America, and yeah, just about how important they are. So right now I'm in each chapter is broken up by month. So basically, each month of the year, what is happening in an oak's life cycle? What is happening around its environment, um, and what kind of animals may it be interacting with, things like that. And so, really, really interesting. So the chapter is discussing all about right now how important oaks are to migratory birds. And so right now we're at the tail end of the spring migration, and I've been able to get out birding a lot more these last few weeks to try to catch some of these birds. So I've caught quite a few warblers in terms of spotting. I'm not physically catching them, just just in case, but just seeing them. So I've caught, let's see what, some pine warblers. I saw a hooded warbler, which was really neat. Common yellow throats, yellow rumps, chestnut sided, magnolia warblers, black and white warblers. So there's quite a few. It's been really fun. It's been really fun to explore the parks and yeah, check out who's visiting for now. Also, a bunch of different types of sparrows. We saw some really cool herons, like a night heron, and a little blue heron. So, yeah, yeah. Some good spotting these last few weeks, and gonna try to get out a few more times. See, some folks have been seeing scarlet tanagers, which are these beautiful birds. They're red with like these dark black. They almost look black wings. I have never seen one in person, so I'm hoping to. And while I'm doing this, of course, I'm looking at the plants. So what kind of plants are the birds interacting with? What's currently blooming? So right now, bluebells are also, they're wrapping up their blooming, all the spring ephemerals. So these are plants that come out in the spring and are bloom for a very short amount of time, and then that's it. It's just you blink and you miss them. So the trilliums right now are out and about all over Central Park. So many different varieties too, which is really cool to see. Um, and unfortunately, I saw a lot of invasive plants are also currently blooming. So we need to get a jump on doing some invasive plant removal, especially because those flowers, if they are pollinated and then they go to seed, that's even more that's even more invasive. So, gonna see about planning some volunteer events to do some invasive species removal soon, hoping like at Forest Park, so that we can yeah, get in the dirt and remove some of these. And so because of that, I wanted to make sure to read these during this time. Um, and this one's really cool. It's called Invasive Aliens by Dan Etherly. Etherly? It's hard I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Etherly. I'm gonna say Etherly. But it's the plants and animals from over there that are over here. And so it's not just about plants, but also about wildlife that has been introduced to other parts of the world and the impact that's had on local ecosystems, whether it's on, the food chain, um, so like they outcompete native species, have they caused those native species maybe to move, or to wipe them out, just how it actually affects um, the whole infrastructure of our ecosystem. In Doug Tallamy's book, he talks about um, how when introduced species come here, like specifically like plants or tree species, um, they have something called an enemy relief. I think that's what he called it, an enemy relief. And so basically, a plant that otherwise, oh, I think he was talking about I think he was talking about Tree of Heaven. It might be Tree of Heaven. But basically that in its native areas, in Asia, it has predators, right? Folks, well, there's herbivores that focus on that tree. So it'll, its numbers can be kept really low and manageable because there are animals that feed on that plant actively. So it never explodes in terms of population. But then it comes here and it didn't have um, any animals that recognized it as a source of food, and then it just starts to go nuts and it starts to the has these little seeds that just get carried off by the wind and they end up everywhere and they're very, very fast growing. So, um, yeah, it's just really, I like when I'm reading, it's like a certain time of year, if I'm able to try to read books that kind of um, parallel, right? What I'm currently working on. So I wanted to, yeah, check these out. So I wanted to show you this one. So Invasive Aliens by Dan Etherly. If that would be of interest. And then again, The Nature of Oaks that I'm actually listening to it as an audiobook. That one's by Doug Tallamy. It's a very small book. So I think the audiobook is like 4 hours. And yeah, the book itself, I think it's under 150 pages. And then this one is Richard again, last name, is it maybe or Mobby? Not sure, but it's Weeds in Defense of Nature's Most Unloved Plants. So this is another one. Um, yeah, so um, just about plants that have been deemed as weeds, so they're invasive species. But this is a great book to kind of give you a little bit of right of empathy towards weeds. Um, and it just kind of reinforces that, yeah, that these weeds, they were introduced through no fault of their own. It was more, I think it's 99% of the time it was through some type of human intervention, whether accidentally bringing the seeds in, like on the soles of their shoes when traveling, to like mugwort is believed to have been brought here um, in several different ways. One is purposely to be planted, and others is via the ballasts of ships. So ships, they would fill up with water to kind of help with the balance, to maintain the buoyancy, and they can like release the water and uptake water depending on what they need. And but when it kind of sucks up the water, it takes everything with it that is in that water. So could be literal wildlife. And this is seeds, plants, and in some cases even like things like mussels, like clams, mollusks. And then you get to another port and you release it when they're docking. And what ends up happening is you just end up with a bunch of new wildlife that's, of course, maybe a fish won't survive that trip, but something like a clam or a mussel might, and seeds. And so you end up transporting and introducing this flora and fauna to places where they they weren't originally. So it's just really, really neat how it just goes into all the uses for a lot of these plants. And so that's, of course, right up my alley. This is what I do with my work. Um, so teaching folks about using a lot of these introduced species as medicinal, and different things you can do with them. So it's a really, really good book. So Weeds in Defense of Nature's Most Unloved Plants, by Richard, and it's maybe or Mobby. Not sure. But check that one out. And then this one I just started. I think I have another book by him. I think I do. I have to look if I have another book by him. William Bryant Logan, Dirt, the Ecstatic Skin of the Earth. So I just started this a few days ago. And so just talking about what is dirt? What is it that we know of dirt? How is it made? Why is it important? What's going on with it? How the different types of dirt, and yeah, how it's a lot about his own life as well. But yeah, just dirt. I like it. I like it so far. It's a very small book, but I wanted to learn about more of that. I've been really trying to learn a lot more about building soil, because here at when you're, a houseplant hobbyist, you just buy your soil, right? And you make it work. So you get all the components that you need to mix to create the type of substrate that your plant would like. So like for succulents, you want something that's very porous, very kind of airy, right? You need something with a lot of gas exchange. So you might opt to do things like poultry grit, or you might want to add leca or other types of like lava rock or like clay types of rocks into your mix. You want to put perlite in there, for certain species, like some more succulent varieties that appreciate a little bit more water, or rainforest cacti, for instance. You might want to add a little bit of wood chips in there. So you can really mix and match and create this little ecosystem for your plant that best suits it. Um, but how is this the dirt around us created? And it's so different from area, from even within like one state, there can be several types of soil, um, depending on what's near you, depending on elevation, um, even the types of uh, trees and such that are around you. It completely changes the composition of the soil. So not all soil is exactly the same. Um, so yeah, just I want to make sure I'm kind of reading a little bit more. There's that one. I'm gonna reread a book I have called Soil Sisters. I think it's behind me. Yeah, Soil Sisters, a toolkit for women farmers. I think I had mentioned that a few weeks ago. It's a really, really good book, but I read that when it came out. So I think that was like 2019, 2018, 2019, something like that. So it's been a while. So I definitely want to reread that, but highly recommend. So yeah, just wanted to share a couple books with you, just in case, anyone is interested. Also, there are free books that when you get the emails, reminders where the replays, there's also a link for you to find free ebooks. So when I'm able to find ebooks like that for free online, I'm just dropping them in there for you to enjoy as well. Actually just found a few over the weekend, so I do need to add a few more in there. So yeah, check it out. There's one that's really cool. It's called, I think it's like 300 or 400 pages, but it's like vegetables, fruit, and I think it's called vegetables, fruits, and herbs, something like that. But it's like a big encyclopedia about all these different types of food items and different ways to use them and their history and things like that. So that's really neat. I like those types of reference books. So I'm popping those in there. What else? What else? What else? Hmm, oh, I picked up a cool plant. Um, well, plant, I should say, from not too far here. It was about a 15-minute walk from me. She is moving, and so she was getting rid of some plants. So right now I have them on the opposite side of our living room to quarantine away from our other plants. But I'll bring the container here. So pretty neat. Um, she gave me the actual pot that they were in, but there's three different types of philodendrons in here. So here we go. And they're not in soil, so they're in this mix. There's an empty pot here, but I think she just put that in there to kind of fill the space. And it looks like they're primarily in a mix of it's perlite. Looks like there's sphagnum moss and horticultural charcoal. So this is a setup for them to get bottom watered. It's a very, very chunky mix, which is great. And what we have here, so is a young McDowell. So this is the philodendron McDowell. And then we have here a golden dragon, which has these really, really neat leaves. They get very large, very pronounced. And it's growing very much like this. So I might stake it. It's kind of growing downward, which I like. I definitely like. However, I feel very scared every time I move this containers, if I'm watering them, that I'm gonna end up pinning the leaves underneath, right? Because I put them down if I'm not being careful. If I like, let's say I'm a little distracted while I'm doing this, I know I'm gonna end up harming the leaves, and so I think it's probably best for me to stake this, but I don't know, I'm kind of tempted to cut her here. I'll show you where. So right here, you can see that there are some nodes here, and right here you can start to see some of these aerial roots that are forming. They're also forming down here. So I'm thinking about cutting right there. So to remove a big chunk of this, actually, basically it would remove this whole thing up here. And this would become kind of a separate plant than the one that would be left behind. Um, yeah, here we go. This would stay, and then from the top, I would remove that. So contemplating that, there's also this area right here. I'm thinking maybe, but there's a new leaf coming in, so I'm gonna wait till that leaf comes out before I do any cutting whatsoever. So you can see this leaf spike right here. Um, But yes, see these aerial roots. And so this is a node. So you would cut right under that, if you wanted to separate the plant and then have more plants. So might be doing two cuts here, but I just got this plant well, plants, I should say, a few days ago. So I definitely want to let them kind of hang out, get used to the environment for about the next 2 weeks or so before I go ahead and try anything. But then the last one is a plant I've never had before. So we have a mottled dragon. So it's basically a golden dragon with some kind of variegation. Um, has like a little bit of like some splashes in there, like darker green splashes. So it's the same species. So I think it'll be very happy when we put it in our bedroom because our model dragon is doing wonderfully in there. Then we do have McDowells here as well. So I think this little baby McDowell would be just a welcome addition because we definitely keep McDowells. So one of Brian's McDowells is actually about to put out another really big leaf. So this one's great, but I've never had this. And so this is Philodendron Maximum. So I have not I've heard of Philodendron Maximum, but I have not looked at what the mature leaves look like. So this reminds me very much of um it's the philodendron, I think it's called Sagittarifolia, so like arrow shaped. It definitely reminds me of that. Even some types of philodendron iridescens, like the green philodendrons that climb, have these very long, like pointy, kind of arrow shaped leaves. So pretty neat, but I have to look. This one's also getting a new leaf here. But you can see there are all these spots here where it has these aerial roots. And so I'm not sure if I end up it would be a little difficult to stake. I'm not sure. It might end up writing itself. If I were to stake it like this, then this stem might actually, if I put it like this, where the sun is on this side, let's say, so it would coax it to move upwards. So I might try that. Maybe I could set up one of my like a digital camera for a time lapse or something, because that technically should work. So I'm thinking, or should I just let it kind of hang out? I don't know. I like this one this way, and I feel that this maybe I might leave like that. It's just this one, just because of the size, there's just so much plant here, and I feel like it's weighing the whole thing down. It's gonna be more risky for me to accidentally clip it, and I definitely don't wanna hurt it in any way or mess any of the leaves up. So I think that I'll just be super careful for the next few weeks, and then go ahead and chop it, because it's such a thin attachment here. I feel like it's putting a lot of weight and a lot of strain. Um, so I might do that. I might just separate that. The McDowell definitely gonna just leave as is. Leave it. It had some what's called mechanical damage, which just means that it had been so this wasn't a pest, or this wasn't like the bite of anything, but rather the previous owner had accidentally ripped the leaf, and it's already healed the edges. So let me see, just to show you see that edge is white. So the leaf is actually still working. So if you ever rip your leaf accidentally, I have personally ripped leaves. It happens, but don't panic and think, oh no, the leaf is done. I have to cut the leaf off now. You don't. Aesthetically, yeah, you might be like, oh, it doesn't look pretty anymore. But that's function. So function is much more important. So it's still working. It's still producing chlorophyll. It's still able to help feed the plant. So I would not cut this off. So just because it's a little dinged up, it's still working perfectly fine. You can go ahead and do that. Sometimes leaves like this that have substantial damage, even leaves, let's say you missed a couple waterings, or maybe you didn't realize and you put your plant, because this has happened to me, so this is my example too, where it's been a beautiful couple days, and so you move your plant to the windowsill where there happens to be a heater, and then while you're out, the temperature drops and the heater comes on. So I've had that happen. And so sometimes, tips of leaves, right? Your plants, like under all that heat, especially very humid loving plants, you end up with some crisp tips. You can, again, the leaf is still functioning. You can just cut that little tip off and it'll stay. And I've had leaves that have undergone some type of damage that end up, living years. So just because I just want to make sure I mention that just because there's some damage, like don't ever think like, oh, now I have to cut it off, because it'll actually keep working, keep working. If the leaf were to turn all yellow or all brown, something like that, it can't turn back. So you can't bring it back to green. Unfortunately. So that you could clip off. Um, Sometimes if it's just an older leaf that's dying off and it's not like soft or slimy, it's not looking weird, it's just slightly turning yellow. I usually let them kind of finish turning yellow, and so that any nutrition that might be in the leaf kind of gets siphoned over to the rest of the plant. And usually the leaves just kind of, the plant itself, it creates what is called an abscission layer. So think of it kind of like creating scar tissue before the wound happens. So think of it, it's like um, you know, a, a, a reinforced door, right, that gets slammed through a hallway. So it'll create a layer, and then slowly as that layer kind of scabs and protects that node, what ends up happening is the dying leaf on this side eventually it literally gets cut off and it just falls off. And this happens. A lot of plants do this. Even some trees do this, and they will just drop smaller branches of some trees, like tulip trees are very known for this, even beech trees. And so it leaves these scars behind that are really cool looking. So I know for like tulip trees, they kind of look, even some beeches, they kind of look like eyes. The very cool looking scar that remains. But it happens with a lot of house plants too. So yeah. So just some plant science there, but it can do that. Um, yeah, and that's how a lot. That's basically what's happening too with fall leaves with deciduous trees when they're dropping their leaves. So they will basically, it's like they're dissecting themselves to cut off that leaf. And that can happen. So with your house plant. So sometimes if you're like, oh, that leaf, yep, you let it sit a little bit, it's like fully yellow, and all you have to do is just a quick little tug and it's ready. So the plant was already working on it. So, so yeah. Um, right now, like with our gloriosum, the bottom leaf got damaged, but it was like very damaged. So the plant just was like, nope. And so we cut off the leaf, and now that stump, we're just waiting. It's like getting the dried out kind of texture. We're gonna let it finish, because when we tried to pull it, I'll bring it over in a second just to show you, but it wasn't ready, so we didn't want to yank and then you end up wounding the plant. So kind of let it do its thing. Kind of let it do its thing, and then we'll work with the plant there. But yeah, these are super cool. So it was just somebody really close by getting rid of these, super cheap. Um, so yeah, I was very happy to be able to pick these up, and I did not expect it to come with this planter. This is really neat. It has a little reservoir here. I thought I was just gonna get the plants. So, but this is cool. This is really cool. But Yeah, I might switch up how they are in here. So I might do a cut and propagate like two pieces of this guy. Um, just because yeah, I don't want it to get damaged, but it looks really cool. Philodendrons are great, and so it whenever I do get philodendrons, I think I do tend to pick them up like in the spring and summer so that they can start to um, acclimate. Ah, here we go. All right. So this is the Gloriosum, and so she just opened her leaf, so she's still hardening off her leaf, and she's actually coming out with leaves here as well. So she just dropped this little one here and this one here. So I do want to repot this. This is still in the substrate that it came in. And it's very heavy on the cocoa coir, and I don't like that. Um, so I'm thinking about doing that. But here you could see that this leaf, there was a leaf that was going kind of growing downwards over here, and it got damaged when we were moving around some furniture, and so we didn't want to pull it out because it was still really like firmly attached. But we were able to just cut the leaf off and then just waiting. And so now it looks like it's actually ready. Whoop. Aha, okay. That came off. So, oh, the smell. So if anybody here owns philodendrons, they do have a scent when you cut them. It's a very like citrusy, um, yeah, like citrusy kind of like mandarins. Like a, yeah, yeah, it's like a mandarin almost. Um, But yeah, this is a gloriosum, and these are creepers. So these philodendron, unlike different species that tend to grow upwards, so you can give them a pole and they'll grow up that pole. These are creepers, and so they just kind of grow more horizontally versus vertically. So this isn't like the best type of pot for it either. We picked this up at Home Depot. It was like 20 bucks or something. And I mean, for the size, that's beautiful for a philodendron gloriosum. So we definitely picked that up. But um, yeah, it looks like there's two in here. So one is here growing and this other stem here. But yeah, definitely don't like the mix. I don't like the pot. So I might actually do something where maybe even the pot that I just got with those little philodendron, see something like that would work really well for a philodendron gloriosum because it's long, and so it will be able to kind of grow out much more easily. Because some so thankfully this there's a nursery pot within this, so this is cloth. So it's much more it's softer, so it's not as abrasive. So this, it's not really damaging the um, the stem as much as let's say it was plastic, because it will damage the plant if it's kind of hanging over it like that. Um, it might not happen right away or anything like that, but as more leaves start to come out, more weight is being put on the plant, and that little area, it can start to form a little wound, like a little crack, a little scratch, and it can get worse and worse and worse. Um, and especially if it's like rubbing on something that's a much harder surface. So yes, this works in that favor because it's cloth, so it's not as harmful. Um, but just be aware that if you end up um, yeah having some issues with with abrasions like that on your plants, that could be the possibility. So, um, but yeah, looks really cool. I had that happen with actually a tetrasperma that I had. It was a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and it was hanging like that when I bought it, and I didn't correct it, and I regretted not doing that because what happened is it ended up growing more. That put that more weight. It started to crack, and I didn't notice. I didn't notice until it was very substantial, and yeah, it the damage had been done. So, um, yeah. So now with things like that, I'm a little bit more cautious and watching. And so yeah, I'm grateful for this that the pot is this cloth material because that definitely works in our favor in this type of situation. But yeah, well, let me see these questions here. Um, Polly, yeah, I mean, check out Facebook Marketplace. This was a Facebook Marketplace find. Um, and yeah, it was like $20 for the plant for all of them. Especially now, a lot of people, it's like moving season. A lot of people are currently moving or they're downsizing because it's like spring cleaning. And yeah, you can go on Facebook Marketplace, and sometimes folks are just giving plants away too. So uh, it's a good place to look. We've been like much more careful in terms of like, all right, let's make sure I want to rebuild a lot of our collection that we lost because of thrips. And but at the same time I'm like, I want to do it in a much more um kind of curated way versus I'd be like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool, and I would just pick up the plant. And so I'm trying to curb myself as well. Um, but I thought that was too good of a deal, too good of a deal on those. And these are going to grow to be really gorgeous plants, and so it's also great that they're smaller. They're not plug small, where they're itty bitty like 1 inch, 2 inch pots, but it's like a 4 inch pot, and it's already they've been started out. So it's a great time to get a young plant like that to grow it up to something substantial because it'll get used to your environment, to your home environment. Um, and you can really like easily kind of like manipulate also how you want it to look. So, uh, for now, I'm really thinking I might leave the maximum growing like that. I really like how that looks. I would just have to make sure that yeah, I kind of keep an eye if I have to do any pruning because I wouldn't want that much weight to kind of go over the edge for it to hurt itself. But the golden dragon I definitely need to chop. Oh, Suzanne asked, could you put the air roots into a pot before you cut it? So yes, you can if they were long enough. So right now, those air roots are itty bitty little nubs. But other plants like Monstera, especially Monstera is a great example for that, because their air roots can get pretty substantial in length. So if you had a node, let's say, that has some pretty long um, aerial roots and it's like a hanging, it's kind of like, cascading down, you could definitely put a pot like right under it and then kind of manipulate the roots towards that so that they can anchor in and settle themselves. And then you can propagate it that way. That's actually a great way to propagate things like uh, epiprenum, so pothos. So you can do that as well, where if you have really long vines and you really want to cut a section, let's say, what you could do is actually add another pot next to your mother plant, kind of configure the vines in a certain way, how you want them. You can use plant pins. They look like staples, but they're really long. And it just goes into the dirt, holds your plant in place, And you can just give like a little bit. Do not soak that pot. I would not bottom water that pot. I would say maybe use a squeeze bottle or something where you just dampen like the first inch or two, and that's it. So don't fill that whole dirt pot basically with water. Yeah, and you just go ahead and kind of watch it work because it'll start producing roots. It'll settle into that pot, and then you can go ahead and cut where you wanted to, and that just makes for a much more successful propagation. So you can definitely do that. It absolutely works really great. Holly says, if you put that on a pole in the same pot or in another container, great question. So for the one that for the golden dragon, I might put a pole in. I'd be putting a pole in the pot, a pole in the pot. Can't say that 5 times fast, but I would be putting that in there. Um, and I would just cut off that top section. And so it would be much easier for it to just stay put, and I can set it up on the pole, and it'll just work much easier. In terms of yeah, I am gonna oh, if I'm gonna pull it before I cut, I mean, I think I would cut and then pull. I would cut and then pull. Um, it does grow like the arrowhead one. Um, oh, is that a real orchid behind me? No, this is actually really fun. That is a Lego. That's a Lego I built. Um, so Lego has been dropping a lot of botanical Legos. And this is one example. It was really fun to make. It includes these little aerial roots, which I thought were great. These little aerial roots. But no, this is a Lego. Really cool. Even has a little flower buds. Um, yeah, and the ones that haven't like opened fully yet. Yeah, so it's supposed to be a Phalaenopsis orchid, but it is just it's just Legos. Uh, but it looks great, right? I love it. I love it. It was a lot of fun to make. I've made a couple actually. I have made these that I keep in my entryway in a vase. Oh, it's heavy. So I keep these as if they were real flowers. But these are all the Lego flowers I have made. So there's different types of flowers in here, and you can maneuver them. I think it's just super cool. Super fun to make. Yeah, and then you just have to dust them. So you don't have to worry about remembering to water these, but really pretty. And they're coming out with even more. We were actually at Petco yesterday picking up crickets for our geckos, and we saw that Lego now is being carried at Petco. So by the register, they had a bunch, and they have daffodils and sunflowers, but they were sold out of a bunch. They only had a few daffodils left. And yeah, everything. So I definitely want to grab the sunflower ones. I love me some sunflowers. So that one definitely. And another one I have that I had a lot of fun working on was this. This is the last one I'll show. I'm a little Lego crazy. Legos are really fun. I think I have a lot of fun working on them, but this is a Lego bonsai. So I have that in my entryway as well. And it's just a little Lego, but looks like a little tree, little bonsai tree, complete with the shallow pot. So yeah, you can get some really fun ones. So highly recommend if you like Legos, try try to look at some of their new botanical collection in the bedroom, but I have them on a really high shelf. I also did like last year, I did the Lego succulents that had come out. They've released more since then. I haven't picked up more, but the first batch I did. Yeah, Holly, what? Yeah, yeah. So check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun to work on. I feel like it's a great way to like decompress. So just sit and then you're just focusing on finding the pieces and putting them together. Um, and I think that's very much why I like house plants so much, because then you're working with a plant and it's like, all right, well, what kind of soil do you have to mix? What kind of so it's like fixing the pieces of a puzzle, and so I like those types of activities. So Lego definitely falls in there. So they're a lot of fun to make. Gabby says, I bought a small perennial to put in an outdoor pot, but I haven't transferred it out of the nursery pot yet. Oh, it poured yesterday, and all my pots and the soil are very wet, including the new plant that I bought. When is the best time to repot it? Can I do it while everything is wet or wait? Great question. And so you were planning to put it in an outdoor pot, so you still have it in the nursery pot. Um, I mean, if it's meant to be going outside, probably while it's wet, um, would probably work just fine. The whole thing is if it's gonna continue pouring for a little bit, you may have to provide like some shelter or move the plants like under a porch or something where they're not getting completely soaked through. If it's gonna be like raining a lot, because that might be too big of a shift for the new plant, especially. So because it was being grown like indoors, so you might risk root rot if it's like getting a bunch of water out of nowhere. Um, but yeah, while it's wet, it's usually the best. Not soaking wet, not soaking wet. I would give it a few days to while it's still kind of moist, essentially. So the roots are nice and imbibed. It's much easier to manipulate because you can pop it right out. And you're not going to be doing that much damage to the roots because that soil is very spongy and workable. If you wait until the soil is too dry and then it becomes like rock hard, depending on the type of mix you might have, a lot of the nursery mixes are like that. Once it dries, it's like a brick. So, so that's very difficult to work with, and you risk really damaging the roots that way. Because if you're trying to break it up, um, it's it's hardened to the point where those little really sensitive root hairs are going to get cracked and broken during that process. So I would say maybe give it a few days for it to just dry a little bit. Maybe put in like a bright window. Make sure it's not kept somewhere like cool and dark. You want it to definitely um, yeah, have ample light so that it can start to dry out. And then yeah, well, you can put it outside and put it where it is that you planned to. And it should be fine, especially if it's a perennial. It might go into shock and die back. Like it might drop like some leaves and things, but yeah, perennials you don't have to worry. They'll keep coming back. So uh, and it's still really early in the growing season too. So so it's fine if it ends up dying back a bit. Um, there was somebody who was actually talking about, and I'm trying to remember what they called it. Was it a Chelsea cut? I think it's called a Chelsea cut. I had never known that that was what it was called, but basically there are some plants, not all plants, but some plants that in the spring they start to kind of grow and put out shoots, and you can cut them back during that kind of initial growing period, and it helps kind of make them kind of become bushier. I mean, this is a concept we use with houseplants. It's a concept we use with like kitchen herbs like basil and things like that. But it is a practice with certain like shrubs and things like that. But apparently it was called a Chelsea cut. I think I'm remembering that correctly. I think it's called Chelsea. But I had never heard it called that. So that was something new for me. I don't know if it's like a local kind of nickname for the process or if that's the name of the process. But I first time for me hearing that. Yes, Holly, the scientifically stimulating the intellect. Yes, like those types of activities. Yes, definitely. Um, oh, Adeline, do you remember our conversation about the scarlet fever bean runner? I planted several beans, and in no time, its growth um, was quickly, and it needs to be planted and supported. Just wondering what would be best plants. What would be the best plants to be planted close by? It's been raining for a few days, and it'll be continuing, so I can't put it out yet, as it's also very windy. Great. Yeah, with beans. Well, I mean, of course, it depends on your area, but you want to put something. There's this wonderful method called like the three sister planting. And so that is, folks would grow corn because it gives, it doesn't have to be corn, but in this case, for three sisters, it does. But you can model a similar type of relationship in giving your beans a plant that will grow taller, that will then give it support. So I have seen people swap out corn because maybe corn won't grow in their area. However, sunflowers tend to do okay in their area, and so they'll plant some sunflowers, and so that stalk is what the bean will then climb up. That is always really wonderful because it'll give it kind of some scaffolding. And then the other component, the third sister in the three sister process, is things like squash. So something that's going to grow lower to the ground, but with larger leaves that's going to shade out any other competition. So if you wanted to grow something either similar like squash, that could potentially be a great companion to grow with your beans. If that's not something you want to grow, you're like, yeah, no, squash, not really. It could be other squash related plants, or things like cucumbers, or planting um, like different types of melons or pumpkin, something that will stay relatively close to the ground but can create some larger leaves. And that tends to curb any other volunteer plants because it's literally shadowing the area, and 'cause they tend to get these really beautiful large leaves. Um, so yeah, the Three Sisters, it's a beautiful thing. I've been very excited that I was able to enjoy that. We have a garden about 15-20 minutes away called the Smiling Hogshead Ranch. And they're right here by I think they're by LaGuardia Community College, and they partake in they use those processes, and so they grow the beans, but in the Three Sisters method with corn, beans, and squash together, so that they just grow beautifully in tandem, and that kind of thinking, that approach can be used, but with other plants too. So um, yeah, so I would say try to think, may find like other plants, if you don't want corn or squash. Um, but that could potentially work very similarly. So one that you don't want them all kind of occupying the same level. So there are plants that grow at certain levels. Um, so some stay relatively close to the ground. Some get a little slightly taller, some can get, like let's think corn or sunflower get incredibly tall. Um, and so just kind of having them at different levels means that they're not going to compete with one another, but instead they end up working really well together. And like, yeah, the beans, if they were to grow up a taller plant, they're not harming the plant. So they're just kind of using it as scaffolding just to grow out on themselves. Um, yeah, like succotash, yeah. Um, it's just great. If you're able to grow those types of plants. then I would recommend try that approach, the Three Sisters approach if you can. It's always really neat. I have some corn seeds that I'm gonna see if I might donate a few, either to John Bowen High School where I went, or um, I have some from their black corn varieties that I had seeds shared with me from a seed keeper. And the goal is to then share them out. So I can't grow corn here, unfortunately. Um, Not in terms of, there's people who can grow corn here in Queens, but personally, I can't. I don't have anywhere in it won't grow very well inside, and yeah, I can't grow it outside, where I live, unfortunately. So I want to give those out and give them a chance to uh to grow and then continue, because yeah, there's these really really cool heirloom varieties of corn. There's a great documentary, I think it's called Seed. It might just be called Seed. um and I loved it. The It's like interviews with all these different seed keepers. Um, and there was like one all about different types of corn, and then there was a gentleman who focused on beans, and he just had all these types of beans. Documentary. I think it's called Seeds. There we go. It's called Seed. I thought it was a plural, but it's Seed, the Untold Story. Um, there we go. Seed, the Untold Story. Amazing. Yes, from 2016. It's an hour and a half. Trying to see where it's available to watch. Oh, it's on Peacock for free and Amazon Prime right now, but you can get it also on YouTube TV, on Apple TV, Sling, Fandango, Tubi. Awesome. And I did not realize it won 18 film festival awards. It's such a great documentary. I watched it more than once. Really, really beautiful. I'm trying to see here. It looks like there are some folks that have shared sections of it on YouTube. Let me see if this is a. Oh, this might be the whole thing. Yes. All right. So I'm gonna share this with you guys. Let me. I'm gonna post this in the link. Yes, Gabby, yes, the Three Sisters concept is indeed a Native American practice. Absolutely. Yes. So that's why it's great if you're able to replicate it, so that they grow in tandem. That's definitely a beautiful thing to watch. But if not, and you kind of have to work adjacently, you can kind of go, okay, cool, that we understand why that works. And so, um, yeah, we can use something kind of similar in terms of um, having some type of plant that will work as scaffolding and another plant that will work as lower story kind of shading. Because yeah, the beans will grow upward. You could always use trellises as well. Trellises, for if kind of companion planting doesn't seem to be like gonna that's not gonna work very well. Um, because other plants, things like tomatoes or um, eggplants, things like that, they're just going to grow in height wise, and they might actually shade out your beans, or um, the tomatoes are very hungry plants, so they might also outcompete. So they definitely like fertilizer and things like that. So Yeah, I don't know how they would grow right next to beans. Um, I've never planted beans and tomatoes like right next to each other. I had planted years back when I had a plot. I did plant a bunch of beans with trellises, and then I had marigolds kind of as a border. So marigolds are great. It's believed that they're like also a pest deterrent, but they grow very low to the ground, and so that was really helpful. I really didn't have to weed that much because they I planted them so close together. It was like a perfect little border around around my beans. I want to grow um the is it Lapa? Is it Lapa Lapa? Lapa purpurea? Um, Let me see. I think it might be Lapa purpurea. You just want to make sure that they're not escaping your your backyard. Is it Lapa Lapa? I keep remembering Lapa. It's the purple hyacinth bean, yes, but what's the scientific name? Why do I keep thinking Lapa? Let's see, hyacinth bean. Lab. It's not Lapa Lapa, it's Lab. So Lab. And Purpureus. All right. Gotta I gotta refresh some of my scientific names here. I need to finish reading this book I have on Linnaeus, who we know as the first scientist to really use, use our binomial system of naming plants and animals, naming the things around us, essentially. Definitely need to finish that one. But yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful bean, and it makes these gorgeous. Look at that bean pod. So, so, so beautiful. Absolutely love how that looks. And the leaves are really pretty. Let me see here. Our neighbor grew them when I was little. And so I would always see them in our yard because they would go over our fence, and I loved it. But then a few years ago, she cut the whole thing down. Um, and I was so sad because it was so, so beautiful. Here, yeah. So really, really gorgeous. So, I'd like to grow them again. It's more so, like a nostalgia. Oh, wow. Suzanne, that marigolds attract bean beetles. Won't they bring beetles to your beans? I've never heard that. That marigolds attract bean beetles. No, I never had to. I grow bean beetles. I have a colony of bean beetles. I've had that colony for, oh my gosh, a couple years now. Um, But no, those I purposely bought. I bought a few and then I have my colony and they just grow in the background. Um, but no, I never had yeah, I never had any issue with bean beetles. Wow, I've never heard that. The marigolds attract bean beetles. I need to look more into that then. I've always what I was taught is that the marigolds are great pest deterrents. So it's great to plant them as a flower border around your plot, or around like sections. of plants that you really want to kind of isolate. Um, so no, I've never heard that. Oh, Holly, I heard that the nutritional content of Mexican corn and how it is treated is better than cornmeal type of corn. Do you know anything about that? Um, well, I don't, it's not my area of expertise, but I would surmise that potentially, I mean, definitely how it's treated would change also the variety. So if a lot of the um let's say like the Mexican corn varieties are being grown from a lot of heirloom varieties, varieties that have been kept alive for generations, um, they do tend to be very hardy. They do tend to they were obviously selected for like their yield and the nutritional content, so they could very well especially if they're growing them, with certain practices in terms of like kind of like biological controls. If they're grown kind of how they were grown originally, I would say probably versus corn that's grown for cornmeal. Um, it really again depends on how it's being grown, and so a lot of these varieties that are grown for something like that, for like cornmeal, let's say. Uh, they can just be highly like genetically modified, um and if they're being treated, then I mean I don't think it would necessarily affect their nutritional content per se, but yeah, it if they're just being made for cornmeal, like if that's the purpose of it, then they might be that those seeds were selected specifically more so on yield, and it really might not be the nutritional content that was being focused on. But I would have to learn more about what varieties and like what it is that they're growing, what types of corn, and yeah, what they selected for. Um, yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of plants that are grown in different types of conditions, like from heirloom varieties. One, it's a lot of genetic variety that you can get from these heirlooms, um, where, let's say certain species of like corn, it might all just be the same, the same type. It's the same like clones essentially. Um, and it's very like standardized in comparison with if you were to be able to have access to different heirloom varieties, it's definitely increasing that genetic diversity. Um, and yeah, and if it's grown in a more like organic type of practice, it just tends to make that the plant is really actively using its immune system, and therefore plants, especially like herbs, let's say like let's say mints, let's say rosemary's, sage, lavender, these are all in the mint family. They would probably have a much higher volatile oil content if they were being subjected to external stimuli such as potential pests. um, they're kind of like arming themselves in preparation for any type of attack, because they've had to kind of protect themselves, and so then they tend to be slightly more aromatic. They would tend to have these types of chemicals within them at a much elevated type of amount percentage, versus certain plants, let's say, like that you are growing that are being treated with like fungicides or things like that, or pesticides, where the plant has never had to really fight. It's been very like protected. I think it's like a bubble boy, but like a bubble plant, and it hasn't had to protect itself or anything. So then it tends to actually have a lower volatile oil content. So they're still in there, but just not in very high amounts. And so some folks, that's why some folks, like if you have certain plants that are grown, like let's say, you're getting them fresh from like an organic farm or something, um, it tastes much, much different than than ones that might be grown in a like much more like industrial commercial type of farming. Um, so yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, I have to look more into the type of corn that's being used. But Suzanne, hollyhock might make great support for vining plants. Yeah, yeah. The hollyhocks would work great. Hollyhocks are beautiful too, and they support a lot of pollinators. So there are, native species as well of Malvaceae family plants, so like types of like swamp mallows, like a lot of the mallows. So hollyhocks are part of that family. So yeah, check what might be native to your area. So there are a lot of like swamp mallows that we have here in New York. Um, so they're wonderful and they look beautiful. Uh, and yeah, they're meant to grow in this climate. So they tend to be do really, really great. Oh, Holly, treating the corn with lime. I've never heard of treating corn with lime. Um, never heard of that. And plant the marigolds away from beans to draw beans away. Oh, beetles away from the beans. Wow. I did not have any trouble with my beans that summer. I have never heard of marigolds attracting beans, but I have heard of trap plants, and so that sounds very much like they're being used as a trap plant. So for those that don't know, a trap plant is purposely growing a plant that is very attractive to a certain type of pest species. So some people will grow things like potatoes, for instance, are very attractive to, let's say, mealy bugs. And so let's say you have a bunch of Hoyas and they're always infested with mealy bugs. So maybe you can consider growing a potato plant that you will purposely let get mealy bugs. And so you're treating your Hoyas to try to keep that away. And then the mealy bugs that are still around are gonna find your trap plant and go, this is great, and just focus on that plant, but you don't mind, right? Because you want to keep it healthy enough, right? You might do some manual washing and things like that of the plant. Um, but they'll keep coming to try to eat that plant and then not focus on the house plant. And they actually do this at the botanical gardens too. At many botanical gardens, they use these types of trap plants to get pests to focus on those and leave the varieties that they don't want to have pests alone. Um, but yeah, no, I'd never heard of marigolds that way. Um, I'm still in contact with my a lot of my professors from the agriculture program, and I would love to. I'm just gonna message her and go, "Hey, did you know this? Because you guys told us to plant things like marigolds, and yeah, I did not have any problems that year. That is actually something I would love to show you guys one day. It's in storage right now, but I have my journal from um, that summer. It was part of the project. You had to record your plots and we had to take pictures and things like that. So that'd be really fun to show you. And it's a really cool project. So if you do have your own little garden, I would recommend keeping a journal. One, it's great to look back on in case you need to correct any types of mistakes. But you could start it off with like your plan, how you want the space to look, what you're planning on growing, keeping like kind of notes on what you plant, where, when as well, the date, and then progress shots, maybe, taking some pictures and putting them in there to kind of show how the rate of growth, what was the time of year, what was the temperature like, were you getting a lot of rain that year, things like that. Um, so really great way to kind of, do that every year, to then be able to look back and see what worked, what didn't. And also if so, it's something very, maybe you grew beans 2 years in a row and you wanted to realize, well, what was so different? Could have been the temperature, the amount of water, maybe the amount of fertilizer you used, or things like that, or the companions you chose. So it's a lot of fun. Olatillo, it's called Olatillo Blanco. Oh, I don't know this. Let's see. I think Lexi got locked out of the bathroom. Hold on one sec. You want to go in there? You want to go in there, Mama? Oh. Brian says it always sounds like she's saying help when she's calling us. It's just like she has this really cute meow, and I'm like, yes, it does sound like she's saying help. Let me see. I'm looking at the corn. Oh, it looks like it is a heirloom variety. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen. Ding, ding, ding. Wow. I wonder how big the actual corn kernel is. So here we go. So, oh, to produce masa. Okay, so for dough, um, light floury, and a dense enough body to make the perfect tostadas, fotos, and totop. I've never heard of totopos. And recipe tortillas that don't absorb excess oil when fried. That's neat. I love this type of stuff where even down to the type of flour. Is it very fluffy type of flour? Are you able to, is it something that tends to be, very absorbative? Like it's very, very cool that these types of things are measured. Just I get a kick out of that. But no, no, I mean this is not one I'm familiar with. I'm allergic to corn now. So I can't enjoy this. But that sounds really cool. Really, really cool. And it looks like it is an heirloom variety. And it's an heirloom corn from Mexico. That is great. I mean, if you're able to plant something like that, yeah, the hollyhock recommendation is great too. Let me see. Yep, maciando. Maciendo. Yeah, maciendo. Very cool. Very, very cool. That is neat. I have this, I don't remember, heirloom black corn. Yeah. There we go. Yes, hope. There we go. Blue Hopi corn. That's what it is. So these were shared with me. Um, and so I'm hoping to give some maybe also to like probably Smiling Hog's Head Ranch. I might give a couple there and see if they'll, because they grew corn a couple years in a row. So I'd love to give them um yeah, some different varieties that they could grow. But this is just gorgeous. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I also have some glass gem corn, uh the little kernels to potentially plant as well. but those aren't very edible. They're not the greatest tasting. They were definitely bred for how they look. So for those that don't know, glass gem corn, it's just absolutely beautiful. Just look at that. Just it was bred specifically for its color. So, oh, I froze. Oh, there I am. But yeah, it was bred exclusively really for its colors, and so they do produce these amazing, vibrant color patterns. It's just really gorgeous. Definitely something to be enjoyed, and they really do have a very glass-like um, just coloration. It's really, really beautiful, and they almost look a little translucent as well. So beautiful to grow, but unfortunately they don't taste very well, very good. Um, and they don't for like popcorn, they don't pop very well. So it's not the tastiest of popcorns, but I mean, technically you can eat them, of course. They're just not going to be as tasty as other varieties. Um, I love seeing them. They don't look real. They they do not look real. Um, Yeah. Like, look at that. That is just, they're jewels. They absolutely look like little jewels. So, so beautiful. But yeah, check them out. Check out. Corn varieties are cool if you're able to grow some. Definitely. But yeah, but thanks so much, everyone. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, hanging out. I hope you check out those books. I'll put the I dropped the link to the seed documentary in the chat. I'm gonna put it again just in case anybody missed it. So check out that seed documentary. I'll post it also on the Facebook group for folks that want to see. And and check out those books. Again, I'm reading the audio book just in case for those who came late. I was recommending a couple books. So I'm currently listening to The Nature of Oaks by Doug Tallamy. I'm checking out this book called Dirt, The Ecstatic Skin of the Earth by William Bryant Logan. Short book. So far, so good. And then these two that are about introduced species. So one is about animals and plants, and it's called Invasive Aliens. And so it's really good, really, really good about how these ended up in different places and how they are affecting the ecosystems, and just the repercussions of their introduction. So really, really good. Invasive aliens. And then weeds, in defense of nature's most unloved plants as well. So this is also introduced species, but it's a much more from a lens of, okay, they're here. What can we do with them? What are some ways that folks can use them? So sometimes when they're spreading much faster than we can deal with them, then we can't really mitigate it anymore. How uh, well, what can we do with them? That also helps to curb their numbers, but it also introduces us to a bunch of really cool plants that we would have otherwise not known. Um, yeah, and then try to use them for some good. So yeah. Oh yeah, there might be very well be a video about dirt, if not the book itself. About just there might I think there is a documentary on dirt. I think there is. I think there is. So yeah. Oh, soil. There we go. Yeah. Um. So yeah, check it out. There's so many free documentaries on YouTube. It's crazy. So I love to put on documentaries while I'm working. Um, and it's free. So so take advantage of it. I really need to make that list. I want to make a list of some of my favorite documentaries that are currently available on YouTube. And so it's great that now I know that Seed is on there, because that's definitely one I would recommend for folks to check out. It's very well done, incredibly informative. It definitely leaves you feeling like, whoa, and really, really enjoyable. So yeah, check it out. But thanks so much, everyone. Seriously, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday, and it's May, so happy May. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. I hope the weather is getting better and better with each day by you. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.